Hi, this is Sweet June 2010, coming back at you with another interesting video topic. This video, I'm going to address this to white people and black people and white people. This video is to white people and black people. Um, Question: Racism. Are you part of the solution or are you part of the problem? Which one are you? Are you part of the solution or are you part of the problem? Each person has to examine themselves and figure out which one they are. Are you part of the problem of racism or are you going to be a part of the solution? I know I'm part of the solution, without a doubt, because I'm not out here breaking down my own people and hating on other races of people. I try to love everybody, and that is the number one thing at the top of the list, is trying to love everybody and having the love of God in your heart. That's the number one thing on the list. Okay, but let's break this down. Let's break this question down. Now, first let's examine if you are part of the problem of racism. If you are part of the problem, as a white person, when every time a black person gets killed by the hands of the police, or there's some other type of racial injustice against a black person, do you come up with 50 million excuses as to why it happened? Do you try to say things to justify why that black person got killed or why the black person got shot by the police? Do you blame black on black crime? If you do, you're part of the problem. Do you make excuses for racial injustices? When you know there's a racial injustice, do you make excuses for it? Do you have the mentality that, well, it's, not affecting me, so, or do you have the mentality of, well, those black people need to stop race baiting. They need to stop talking about it all the time. Or you think it in your mind that we're just making it up and racism really isn't real, but we're making it up. We're race baiting. Black people are being racist because we're talking about it. We're talking about it because it's real. We're talking about it because we're going through it and we are experiencing it. And this is something real that's happening in our lives, that's affecting our lives. Okay? So it's not non-existent. Racism is very real. If you are a white person and you do those things and you accuse black people of being racist simply because they're speaking the truth, when a black person wants to speak the truth about racism and injustices, you in turn call them a racist, then you are part of the problem. Or you make excuses, or you try to justify. You are part of the problem. You're not a part of the solution. You're part of the problem. So re-examine yourself. If you are a black person that, such as Lil Wayne, and you say, oh, well, black person really doesn't, racism really doesn't exist. What are they talking about? I've never experienced it in my life. You're in a complete state of oblivion and total denial. It's almost as if you're living under a rock as to what is happening in this country. because you rich, you got money, or you're famous, or whatever the situation it is, or you're in corporate America, you don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers, or whatever the situation is, you're in denial and you're in a state of oblivion, you are part of the problem as a black person. You are part of the problem. Or if you killing your own people, if you're killing your own people, you are downgrading, publicly bashing and downgrading your own race of people as a black person. You refuse to stick by anybody in your race, and you publicly bash your own people. You are part of the problem. You're not a part of the solution. You are part of the problem of racism. Particularly if you kill your own people. You try to destroy your own people. As a black person, you are part of the problem. Or you in total state of oblivion, like I said, you just total in denial about racism altogether. I don't see how any black person can be in denial about it. You are part of the problem, and you're just part of the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. The people that are part of the solution. If you're a white person and you are part of the solution of racism, you see an injustice, such as a black man, unarmed black man being killed by the police, you speak out against it. You're not afraid to publicly speak out against it. You're not afraid to do so. You state very clearly that it's wrong. And you are very aware that there is a race problem in this country. As a white person, you are very aware that there's a race problem in this country. And you're very conscious of it. Even though you don't completely understand it, but you're very aware of it. You're cognizant of it. And you understand it, you don't completely understand it, but you're aware of it. And you acknowledge that there is injustice. You, as a white person, are part of the solution. And you're really the part of the solution if you're a white person and you go out on the front lines with the black people and you hold up the signs and you speak out. You publicly speak out against racism, and you talk to members of your own race and you educate them about racial injustices. Then you, my friend, you are part of the solution to racism, because you're acknowledging it. You're speaking out against it. You're part of the solution as a white person. If you're a black person and you're part of the solution of racism, you speak out against it. You are not afraid to speak out against it. You are not afraid to educate white people on racism and its effects, even though it's very, very difficult to educate the average white person about racism. Very difficult. But you're not afraid to speak out about it, and you're not afraid to speak the truth about racism. Even if it means you're being called a racist yourself, you're not afraid to speak out about it. As a black person, you're being part of the solution. And you're also being a part of the solution when you have love and unity you have love and you support racial unity within the black community. That you show love towards your brethren and your sisterin. You don't publicly bash your brothers. You don't publicly bash your sisters. You support your own people, race of people. If they're doing something positive, you support them 100%. You back them up 100%. But you also do not tolerate any injustices within the black community. You don't tolerate black on black crime. You don't promote black on black crime. You don't support black on black crime. You don't make excuses for black people that are committing crimes against other black people and as other people of other races as well. I mean, you don't support black people committing crimes and committing injustices, particularly against their own race of people. And you love your own people. You love everybody, but you love your own people and you support your own people, and you don't publicly bash your own people, and you're not afraid to speak out against racism. You're not afraid to stand up for what is right. You're not afraid to speak the truth. That, as a black person, you are part of the solution. So those are things. Those are two things, black and white people. If you got to figure out, you got to take a self-evaluation. Are you part of the problem of racism, or are you part of the solution? Which one is it? See, you got to decide which one you are. You got to decide if you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Which one is it? Which side of the fence you're on? You have to, each person, black and white, needs to examine themselves and figure out which side of the fence they're on. Are you part of the solution of racism, or are you part of the problem? Now, with that being said, I will say this. Nobody can afford to be in denial about racism or a state of oblivion about racism. Nobody can afford to be, because ultimately racism is like a cancer. It's like a horrible cancer that just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading, and it just won't stop. It's like cancer when it attacks a particular part of your body. If it's not stopped, it just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading until it just destroys your whole body. And that's a good analogy for racism. Racism is like a horrible cancer. It's a horrible, terrible cancer on our society, and it just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading till one day it's just going to totally destroy us. It's going to destroy, and that's what Satan wants. See? That's what Satan wants. He wants racism to destroy us. Okay? Satan is nobody's friend. Satan don't have no love for nobody. And so that's another thing. You have to decide if you're on Jehovah God's side of the fence or Satan's side of the fence. See? You know, as black people sitting around saying black people are worshiping a white God, which I think is ridiculous or whatever. Well, that doesn't change the fact that I guess I don't know if that means you're in denial about Satan being real or what. But Satan is real. He is real. He is real. He is on the earth. He's roving the earth, and he is real. And that is what Satan wants. He wants the races of people to be divided. To ultimately, he wants the cancer of racism to keep spreading until ultimately it destroys us all. And we got to take a stand against it so that doesn't happen. So nobody, absolutely nobody, can afford to be in a state of denial when it comes to racism. Nobody. Because ultimately, if in fact there is a race war, which I pray to God there is not, but if there is a race war, every last one of us will be affected by this race war. Black people and white people will be affected. We will all be affected by it. Not just black people, but white people will be affected by it as well. So nobody can afford to be in a state of denial about racism. Nobody. because it's this cancer, it just keeps spreading. This cancer, racism, just keeps spreading and spreading and spreading, and it's ultimately going to destroy us all if we don't get a handle on it. If we do not get a handle on it, and we do not stop it, all this, it's going to destroy us all. Okay, let me know in the comments section what you think about this video. I want to hear what your opinions are and your comments. Think about which side you're on. Are you part of the problem of racism, or are you part of the solution of racism? Think about that. Okay, more videos to come. Stay tuned. This is Sweet June 2010.